Hey there, here's our last installment of recycling done right of a kilt that I made for a brother soldier who's retired and died, died the kilt onto his son, and his son's on his, what I used to call the junior NCO course, and which involves a fair amount of square bashing on parade, learning how to be an effective non-commissioned officer. And frankly, the kilt was in shit state, as we say. So I took it he just wanted it pressed. I looked at it and I thought there's absolutely no way I can allow him to be seen in this rather shambolic kilt. So to sum up the work, I pulled it completely apart. I did a complete teardown, pressed every one of the creases out of it, basted up the pleats, sewed them in one 15-hour session, got the pleats and the outward face of the kilt done. There had been some moth damage. Now, unfortunately, I've used silk thread, but I didn't have the right color silk. It's a green silk. And I'm going to pass the iron over that in a minute, and hoping it's going to be a little less visible. Alternately, no work of mine is done until both of us are happy with it. So I'm going to tell him, says, look, bring this back at your leisure, because he's going to be walking onto parade tomorrow morning at about 12 hours from now in this kilt. So I'm going to ask him to bring it back at his leisure, and I'll have some proper silk thread in what I think is going to be very dark blue, a navy blue, to resew that. So it's a neat workmanlike patch as opposed to best possible work. So what I'm doing now is I'm pulling all the bastes out, and I'm just using the blunt end of a needle to do so. And these bastes I'm going to recycle. So as you can see, I hang them up the back there because the basting thread, as it comes off the spool, has sizing in it, and which makes it rather slippery. But after I've pressed it, the sizing is gone, and then the thread is most suitable for basting for other tailoring, where you're doing a back stitch and then cutting the back stitch to mark where everything's going to go. So yeah, what other work I've done, of course, heavy proper buttonhole. I had used that other method of reversing buckle and strap, and after a while I wasn't happy with it. A new top band in green worsted wool, which less volume than that heavy tartan top band he had before. I wasn't able to recycle the old lining because I've changed the proportions of the kilt, but I have sewn in the panel that shows, this was the label I used to use, where every piece of panel would be custom embroidered with the client's name and date and such like that. I stopped doing that because it was a horrible pain in the backside to work with this one company, because the boss's wife thought that she knew better than I did, and she would correct my spelling. The number of times I told her that when I warrant something with an E, I'm gambling that it's going to be okay. If I warrant it with an A, I'm guaranteeing it. But I could never get that through her head. So anyhow, but I've sewn that back on because, again, in memory of his father, I think he would like to see that. So I've replaced the old lining, which was a rather nice suiting, a rather light Italian suiting, and it had a bit of a very faint pinstripe on one side. But live and learn. I think it was okay, but I really wasn't comfortable in recycling yet again, because this heavy suiting, this light suiting doesn't take well to repeated seams, where I take a seam apart and put it back together again. The cloth starts to show that. So here we go. The elastics are in, the label is on. You can't see it, but in the canvas under here, I'd signed it the day I made it. I signed it again the first alteration, and I've made a third entry for this alteration. So it'll be interesting for either a future tailor or for me or an industrial archaeologist to open this up and go, oh, well, what we see here. So there we go. He's going to be here in about 45 minutes, so I wish you all a good weekend, and I'm going to get back to this. And then once I've fitted it to him, because as you see, I've left the left-hand strap, it's buckled but loose, and I've left the lining opening of that spot so that I can try it onto him, mark exactly where the strap should fall, and sew it, and then try it onto him again, because why cut a corner in the last minute? So there we go. He'll be here in 45 minutes. I'll do that final fitting. Once it's proper, I'll sew that up. I'll repeat his instructions on how to take care of it and what not to do with it, and wish him on his way. So I wish you all a happy weekend and be safe.